Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in the grand chamber of Nexus Prime, watching the light from 1,000 distant stars filter through the transparent dome above. She had been coming to this place for 5 years now, and every time it took her breath away. The station orbited a neutron star, and the cosmic display was unlike anything near Earth. Today, though, something felt wrong. The Galactic Council chamber was filling with representatives from 12 alien species. The Tholians arrived first, their crystalline bodies refracting light in rainbow patterns. The Korath lumbered in next, massive creatures that looked like walking mountains. The Xviri came last, their 6-limbed bodies moving with liquid grace. Elena had learned to read their body language over the years. Today, they looked nervous. Kelthera, a young Xviri diplomat Elena had befriended, approached her quickly. The alien's translator device crackled to life. "Ambassador Vasquez, I must speak with you." Elena smiled, but Kelthera's next words froze that smile in place. "The vote is already decided." "I'm sorry." Before Elena could ask what vote, the chamber's great bell rang. The council session was beginning. Kelthera retreated to her position, leaving Elena standing alone at humanity's small podium. Her heart began to race. The council elder, a Tholian named Crystallix, rose from his elevated throne. His voice came through the translation system, cold and mechanical. "We convene this emergency session to address a matter of galactic security. The species known as humanity has been evaluated under Protocol 7 of the Galactic Charter." Elena felt her stomach drop. Protocol 7 was used to assess existential threats. It had not been invoked in 3,000 years. "What is the meaning of this?" Elena demanded, her voice echoing in the vast chamber. "Humanity has violated no laws. We have been peaceful members of this council for 73 years. Crystallix ignored her. A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing images Elena had never seen before. Human colony ships, but these were armed with massive weapons. Star charts showing human expansion routes that violated treaty boundaries. Intercepted communications discussing invasion plans. "This is false," Elena said, her voice rising. "Those images are fabricated. Humanity has no such weapons. We have no such plans," but the evidence kept coming. Video of human soldiers training for orbital assault. Documents bearing official Earth government seals authorizing military expansion. Audio recordings of human commanders discussing the conquest of alien worlds. Elena's hands trembled as she accessed her tablet, pulling up real data from Earth's colonial office. The expansion routes were wrong. The weapons didn't exist. The documents were forgeries. But when she tried to display her evidence, her access was denied. Her connection to the chamber's display system had been cut. "You will have your chance to speak," Crystallix said. "But first the evidence must be presented in full." For 2 hours, Elena watched her species be portrayed as warmongers and conquerors. Every protest she made was noted and dismissed. The other council members sat in silence, their alien faces unreadable. Only the Xviri representative, Elder Vexian, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Finally, Crystallix called for testimony. Elena approached the central platform, her legs feeling weak. She spoke for 30 minutes, presenting every fact she knew. Humanity had 27 colony worlds, all established within agreed-upon boundaries. Earth's military existed only for system defense and asteroid mining. The weapons in those images did not match any human technology. The documents were obvious fakes with dating errors and impossible signatures. She spoke with passion, with logic, with desperation. When she finished, the chamber was silent. "The council will now vote," Crystallix announced. The charge: humanity is declared a Category 5 expansion threat. The sentence: all human colony worlds outside the Sol system will be placed under council administration. All human faster-than-light drives will be confiscated. Earth will be blockaded to prevent further expansion. Voting begins now. Elena watched in horror as the votes came in. The Tholians voted yes. The Korath voted yes. The Banali, who humanity had helped during a famine just 10 years ago, voted yes. One by one, 11 species voted to end humanity's freedom. Only the Xviri abstained. "The motion passes," Crystallix declared. "Council peacekeeping forces will begin operations immediately. Ambassador Vasquez, you are hereby ordered to remain on this station until transfer arrangements can be made." Elena felt the chamber spin around her. 73 years of peace. 73 years of friendship and cooperation. ended in a single vote based on lies. As the session ended and the council members filed out, Elena stood frozen at her podium. She accessed her emergency communicator, the one linked directly to Earth Command. Her fingers shook as she entered the encryption code. "Admiral Chen," she said when the connection opened, "the council has betrayed us. They are coming for our worlds." On the other side of the transmission, more than 20 light-years away on Earth, Admiral Marcus Chen sat in the war room beneath Geneva. He listened to Elena's report with growing disbelief, then anger, then cold determination. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of human colonies scattered across the galactic arm, 27 peaceful worlds home to 3 billion people. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Council fleets are already moving," Elena replied. "New Horizon will be first. They will reach it in 6 hours." Chen closed his eyes. New Horizon was humanity's oldest colony, established 90 years ago. 400,000 people lived there, most of them families. The colony had farms, schools, hospitals. It was as far from a military target as possible. "Elena, get off that station however you can," Chen said. "That is an order. I will try." "Marcus, they are so certain we will surrender. They think this will be easy." "Then they do not know us very well," Chen replied. "Earth Command out." He turned to his staff officers, men and women from every nation on Earth united under the Terran banner. "Get me the assembly. Get me every colonial governor. Get me our fleet commanders. We have 6 hours to make the most important decision in human history." Across human space, the warning spread like wildfire. On New Horizon, Dr. Sarah Kim stood in her laboratory at the university, watching the emergency broadcast. Her hands clutched the edge of her desk as the governor's face appeared on screen. "Citizens of New Horizon, council ships have been detected on approach. They are demanding our surrender. I have been ordered to comply, but Earth Command has given us another option. The choice is ours." Sarah looked out the window at the city below. 200 years of human dreams made real under an alien sky, children playing in parks, couples walking hand in hand down tree-lined streets, all of it about to end. Her communicator buzzed. It was her colleague, Dr. Marcus Webb. "Sarah, are you seeing this?" "I am seeing it. What do we do?" Sarah thought about her parents, who had been among the first colonists. She thought about her daughter, playing in kindergarten right now, innocent and unaware. She thought about the human spirit, the thing that had driven their ancestors to cross oceans, to climb mountains, to reach for the stars. "We do what humans have always done," she said quietly. "We refuse to kneel." In orbit above New Horizon, the Council's Tholian peacekeeping fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 16 massive warships, each one larger than any human vessel. Their commander, Fleet Master Vorix, opened a communication channel to the planet below. "This is the Galactic Council Peacekeeping Force. You will power down all military installations and surrender all faster-than-light capable vessels. You have 1 hour to comply. Resistance is futile and will be met with appropriate force." The transmission ended. Vorix settled into his command chair, confident this would be resolved quickly. Humans were a young species, barely capable of interstellar travel. They would see reason. He did not know that on the planet below, every human had just received a message through their personal devices. 3 words hidden in what appeared to be a routine system update: Protocol Omega. Engage. And in millions of hearts, fear turned to fury. The war room beneath Geneva had not been silent in 18 hours. Admiral Marcus Chen stood at the center of a hurricane of information, watching holographic displays update every few seconds with reports from across human space. His eyes were red from exhaustion, but he could not rest. "Not now." "New Horizon reports council ships in orbit," an officer called out. "They are demanding surrender of all military assets." Kepler Station reports the same. 12 council vessels holding position. New Terra, Ross 154, Tau Ceti, they all have council fleets overhead. Chen watched the tactical display. 17 human colonies, all now under the shadow of alien warships. The council had moved with precision and speed. They had planned this perfectly. "Admiral, we are receiving a data transmission," the communications officer said. "Source is Xviri diplomatic channels. It is heavily encrypted." "Put it through," Chen ordered. The data package downloaded in seconds, but what it contained took Chen's breath away. Complete intelligence on every council fleet position, technical specifications for their weapons and shields, tactical doctrines going back 1,000 years. weaknesses in their command structure. A short message accompanied the data. We voted against this injustice. We could not stop it, but we can help you survive it. From Kelthera and those who still believe in honor. Chen felt a grim smile cross his face. Not all of the galaxy had abandoned humanity. But the question remained, what could they do with this information? Give me casualty projections, he said. If we fight, what are we looking at? The strategic AI took 30 seconds to run the numbers. The result appeared on his screen and Chen felt his blood run cold. Estimated human casualties in a full-scale war with the Council. 200 to 500 million dead. Probability of victory, 8%. Around him, the representatives of the United Terran Assembly were arriving. President Sarah Okonkwo from the African Union, Premier Li Wei from the Asian Coalition, Chancellor Schmidt from Europa, Governor Martinez from Mars. Every human government united in this moment of crisis. Tell us the situation, Admiral, President Okonkwo said. Chen laid it out clearly. The Council's ultimatum, the blockades, the occupation forces landing on New Horizon within the hour. The math was brutal. If humanity surrendered, they would lose their freedom, but most would live. If they fought, millions would die, and they would probably lose anyway. What are our options? Premier Li asked. We have three, Chen replied. First, we surrender completely. We accept occupation and hope for mercy. Second, we negotiate while we still have leverage. We offer concessions in exchange for maintaining some autonomy. Third, we activate Protocol Omega. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what Protocol Omega meant. It had been developed in secret 40 years ago, when humanity first realized the galaxy was not as friendly as they had hoped. The protocol was simple in concept, terrible in execution. If humanity faced extinction, every human became a weapon, every ship became a bomb, every colony became a fortress. There would be no rules of engagement, no mercy, no surrender. Humanity would fight with everything they had, using any tactic necessary, until they won or died. That is madness, Chancellor Schmidt said. We cannot win against the entire Council. We cannot win a conventional war, Chen agreed. But Protocol Omega is not about winning. It is about making the cost so high that the Council cannot afford to continue. We make them bleed for every world they take. We turn this from a quick police action into a nightmare they cannot wake up from. Governor Martinez from Mars spoke up. The Council has been at peace for 3,000 years. Their people have forgotten what real war looks like. They think war is a civilized affair with rules and honor. We show them what human war looks like. We show them total war. We would be condemning millions of our own people to death, President Okonkwo said quietly. The colonies will be the battlegrounds. Can we make that choice for them? We already have, Chen said. He pulled up a communication log. I have received messages from 16 of the 17 colony governors. They all say the same thing. They will fight. They remember what their ancestors fled Earth to escape. Tyranny, oppression, the denial of human dignity. They did not come to the stars to kneel to a new master. The debate raged for hours. Arguments flew back and forth. Some called for negotiation. Others demanded immediate action. But as the clock ticked down, as reports came in of Council troops landing on New Horizon, the choice became clear. President Okonkwo called for a vote. The measure: authorize Admiral Chen to activate Protocol Omega and grant him full military authority to prosecute the war by any means necessary. The vote was not unanimous. But it passed. Chen stood alone for a moment after the assembly departed. He thought about his daughter, safe on Earth for now. He thought about his grandson, only 3 years old, who might grow up in a world without stars. He thought about the millions who would die because of the order he was about to give. But he also thought about humanity's history. The species that had survived ice ages and plagues, that had crossed oceans in wooden boats, that had split the atom and reached the moon, that had refused to be broken by war, by famine, by disaster. Captain Torres, he said into his communicator. Are you ready? Light years away aboard the carrier Indomitable, Captain Rachel Torres stood on her bridge. Her ship was in orbit around Jupiter, far from any Council fleet. For now, we are ready, Admiral, she said. Her crew of 800 stood at their stations, faces grim but determined. Captain, within the next 10 minutes, I am going to give an order that will change everything. Your crew volunteered for this mission. Do they understand what is coming? Torres looked around her bridge. Young faces and old, Men and women from every corner of Earth and the colonies. They had trained for this moment, hoping it would never come. They understand, sir. We all do. Good, stand by. Chen moved to the central communications console. He entered his command codes, verified by retinal scan and genetic match. The system hummed to life, opening channels to every human world, every ship, every station in space. This would be broadcast on every frequency. The Council would hear it. Every species in the galaxy would hear it. But most importantly, every human would hear it. Chen took a deep breath. He thought about making a speech, about explaining the decision, about asking for forgiveness. But in the end, the situation required something simpler. This is Admiral Marcus Chen, Commander of United Terran Forces. To all human military and civilian personnel, I issue the following order under the authority of the Terran Assembly and the United Nations Security Charter. He paused for just a moment. Protocol Omega. Engage. 3 words. That was all it took. Across human space, the reaction was instantaneous. On Earth, military bases that had appeared dormant suddenly came alive. Orbital platforms that looked like communication arrays began to unfold, revealing the weapons they truly were. Ships that had been in dock for repairs suddenly showed they were fully operational. On New Horizon, Dr. Sarah Kim stood in a detention center with 40,000 other colonists. The Tholian guards had rounded them up within hours of landing, expecting compliance. Instead, Sarah and her fellow prisoners had spent the entire day organizing. Children sang songs that seemed innocent, but carried coded messages. Women and men pretended to argue but were actually coordinating plans. The Tholians, who had never faced guerrilla resistance, noticed nothing wrong. When Protocol Omega came through on hidden receivers every human carried, Sarah looked at the others in her section. She nodded once. They nodded back. The uprising would begin at dawn. In space near New Horizon, the civilian transport Morning Star received the order. The ship's captain, an old woman named Chen Li, looked at her crew of 30. They were mostly families evacuating to a supposed safe zone the Tholians had designated. "You know what we have to do," she said simply. Her crew knew. They began evacuating to stealth pods, heading for the planet's surface under cover of darkness. Captain Lee stayed aboard with her pilot and engineer. They plotted a new course. The Morning Star began accelerating. The Tholian flagship barely had time to notice before the civilian transport, moving at 90% of light speed, struck it dead center. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface, a new star blooming in the night sky. The war had begun, and humanity's answer to the Council's betrayal was not a speech or a plea. It was violence delivered with cold precision. It was a message written in fire and blood. It said, "You wanted war with humanity. Now you will learn what that means." Fleet Master Vorix of the Tholian Peacekeeping Force had expected this assignment to be simple. Occupy a human colony, confiscate their ships, establish order. He had done similar operations dozens of times on other worlds. Minor species always saw reason when confronted with superior force. But as dawn broke over New Horizon, Vorix began to realize this would be different. The detention center holding 40,000 humans erupted in chaos at sunrise. Dr. Sarah, Kim and her cell had spent the night fashioning weapons from everything they could find. Broken furniture became clubs. Chemicals from cleaning supplies became bombs. Electrical wiring became garrots. The Tholian guards, comfortable in their crystalline bodies that were nearly indestructible, had never faced determined attackers before. They did not expect humans to throw themselves at guards in waves, accepting casualties to bring down a single alien. They did not expect humans to target their joints, the one weak point in their structure, with frightening precision. Within an hour, Section 7 of the detention center was under human control. The prisoners armed themselves with captured Tholian weapons and began freeing others. Sarah led a group of 50 toward the central control room, moving through ventilation shafts too small for the massive Tholians to follow. In orbit, Vorix watched his ground forces request reinforcements. How were humans, an unarmed civilian population, mounting an effective resistance? Then his sensors detected movement. Underground tunnels were opening across the planet. Weapons caches that should not exist were being accessed. The humans had been preparing for this. "Impossible," Vorix said. "We had intelligence confirming this colony was defenseless." His tactical officer looked up from her console. Sir, we are receiving multiple targeting locks from the surface. They have anti-ship batteries. Destroy them, Vorix ordered. But as his ships opened fire on the surface installations, other weapons activated. The humans had hidden their defenses inside civilian structures, inside hospitals and schools. Destroying the weapons meant destroying innocents. Vorix hesitated, bound by the Council's rules of engagement. The humans did not hesitate. Surface batteries fired, not at his warships which were too well shielded, but at his supply vessels and troop transports. 3 ships exploded in the first volley. This was not how civilized warfare was conducted. This was barbaric. Light years away at Kepler Station, Captain Rachel Torres faced her own impossible situation. The Indomitable and 44 other human ships stood against a Council blockade of 120 vessels. The numbers were suicide. The outcome was certain. Torres did not care about the numbers. All ships execute Plan Delta, she ordered. May our sacrifice buy Earth more time. Plan Delta was madness by any military standard. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The first group, 20 civilian transports packed with nuclear devices, accelerated directly at the enemy fleet. They broadcast surrender signals asking for mercy, pleading for their lives to be spared. The Council fleet, following protocol, held fire and prepared to accept surrender. The transports came closer, then detonated all at once. 40 Council ships vanished in nuclear fire. The second group of human ships, small destroyers and frigates, had been hiding in the shadow of Kepler Station. As the Council fleet reacted to the first attack, these ships struck from behind, targeting engines and command centers. 17 more Council ships were crippled or destroyed. Torres led the third group, the Indomitable and 6 other carriers, on a direct assault through the gap created by the first 2 attacks. Her ship's armor was ablaze, systems failing, but she kept firing. Her railguns tore through Council shields designed to stop energy weapons, but vulnerable to kinetic impact. The Indomitable died well. She took 3 Council cruisers with her into the darkness. Torres's last transmission was simple. Tell Earth we made them pay. 45 human ships died at Kepler Station, but 82 Council ships were destroyed or disabled. The survivors retreated, traumatized and confused. How had this happened? The Council had overwhelming superiority in numbers and technology, but the humans fought like demons, using tactics that no civilized species would consider: false surrenders, suicide attacks, hiding military assets among civilians, targeting supply lines instead of warships. On Nexus Prime, the Council convened an emergency session. Elder Crystallix's crystalline body seemed to have lost some of its luster. The human infestation is proving more difficult than anticipated. They refuse to follow accepted military protocols. They are savages, the Korath representative rumbled. They have no honor. They are effective, the ex-Fury representative countered. Perhaps we should reconsider this action. Reconsider? Crystallix's voice took on a harsh edge. We have committed our forces. We have made our decision. We will not appear weak by backing down to an inferior species. Then prepare for a long war, the ex-Fury said quietly. Because humans do not surrender, the galaxy was watching now. News of the fighting at Kepler Station and New Horizon spread through the information networks. Most species were horrified by human tactics, but some, the ones who remembered what the Council had done to them in the past, felt a grim satisfaction. Back on Earth, Admiral Chen coordinated the chaos from his command center. Reports flooded in from every front. New Terra was under assault but holding. Ross 154 had been evacuated before the Council arrived. The entire population hiding in the mountains. Tau Ceti's colonists had poisoned their own water supply rather than let Council troops use it. The losses were catastrophic. 20,000 dead at Kepler Station. 60,000 dead or missing on New Horizon. And the war was only 72 hours old. Chen's chief of staff approached. Admiral, Earth's orbital defense network is ready. If the Council attacks Sol system, we can hurt them. But we cannot stop them. We do not need to stop them, Chen said. We need to make them bleed. Every ship they lose is one less they can use to occupy our worlds. Every soldier they lose makes their people question this war. Sir, the blockade fleet is moving. They are advancing on Earth's outer system. Chen pulled up the tactical display. 200 Council warships, the largest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy. They would reach Earth in 3 days. Release the mines, Chen ordered. All of them. For 50 years, human ships had been quietly deploying automated defense platforms throughout the Sol system. Thousands of them, disguised as asteroids and comets. Each one was a simple weapon, a nuclear device and a thruster. When they detected enemy ships, they would accelerate to intercept. The Council fleet encountered the first minefield near Neptune. The tiny objects suddenly came to life, dozens of them converging on the lead ships. The Council's point defense systems destroyed most of them, but not all. 7 ships were damaged, then they reached the second minefield, and the third, and the fourth. By the time the Council fleet reached Jupiter, they had lost 30 ships and were moving cautiously, scanning for threats. This gave Earth's Mobile Defense Force time to prepare. Commander James Park had escaped the detention center on New Horizon after 3 days of brutal fighting. He and 200 other resistance fighters had stolen a Tholian transport and made it to orbit. Now they were heading home to Earth, carrying intelligence about Tholian tactics and weaknesses. But as his stolen ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth, he saw the Council fleet forming up for their assault. His small vessel was armed with Tholian weapons he barely knew how to use. His crew was exhausted and wounded. It did not matter. They were human. They would fight. All crew, this is Commander Park. We have a choice. We can run and save ourselves, or we can attack that fleet and maybe save our world. I am attacking. Anyone who wants to leave, take the escape pods now. Nobody left. The stolen Tholian transport dove into the Council formation, weapons firing. It was a mosquito attacking an elephant. But it created confusion. Council ships turned to engage this unexpected threat, breaking formation slightly. That was when Earth's defense platforms opened fire. The weapons the Council had thought were communication arrays revealed their true nature. Particle beams and railguns powered by Earth's entire electrical grid hammered the Council fleet from multiple angles. The battle for Earth had begun. The outcome was far from certain. But one thing was clear to everyone watching from across the galaxy. Humanity would not go quietly into the night. They would fight with everything they had. They would die on their feet rather than live on their knees. And they would make the Council pay for every inch of space, every moment of time, every drop of human blood. On New Horizon, Dr. Sarah Kim stood on the roof of the liberated detention center, watching fires burn across the city. Half the colony was destroyed. Thousands were dead, but the Tholians were retreating to their ships, unable to hold the planet against the resistance. She looked up at the stars and thought about Captain Torres, about Commander Park, about all the humans fighting and dying across the galaxy. "We will remember you," she whispered, "and we will make sure your sacrifice meant something." The fury humanity unleashed was terrible to behold, but it was also unstoppable. The Council had made a fatal mistake. They had assumed humanity would be easy prey. Instead, they had awakened something ancient and primal. The human will to survive, the human refusal to submit. 6 months into the war, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The Council, which had ruled for millennia with unquestioned authority, found itself fighting for survival. And humanity, written off as a minor species that would fold within weeks, had become the nightmare that kept alien leaders awake at night. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in her makeshift office aboard the neutral station Sanctuary, reviewing casualty reports. She had escaped Nexus Prime with Xviri help and now led humanity's diplomatic efforts. The numbers were staggering. 190 million humans dead, 14 colonies occupied or destroyed. Earth's population had been evacuated to underground shelters after the Battle of Titan, but the Council had paid dearly too. 300 billion in economic damage, 400 warships destroyed, 62 billion citizens dead across multiple worlds, and most damaging of all, the Council's unity was fracturing. The Xviri had formally defected to humanity's side 3 months ago. Their shipyards now built human vessels using Xviri technology. 2 other species, the Korath and the Benali, had declared neutrality despite Council threats. They had opened humanitarian corridors and were treating wounded from both sides. Elena prepared for another diplomatic meeting, this time with representatives from the Draxian Empire. The Draxians had not taken sides yet, but they controlled a third of known space. Their decision could end the war. The Draxian ambassador arrived punctually. His species resembled Earth's lizards, but with 6 eyes and a mind that could process information faster than any human. He studied Elena with cold calculation. Ambassador Vasquez, my government has reviewed your proposal. You ask us to recognize human sovereignty and condemn the Council's actions. I ask you to stand for justice, Elena replied. The Council fabricated evidence to justify this war. We have provided proof of their deception. Will you stand by and watch an innocent species be destroyed? Innocent. The Draxian's laugh was harsh. Your military tactics are barbaric. You use civilians as shields. You turn hospitals into fortresses. You bomb supply convoys carrying medical supplies. We fight with what we have, Elena said, meeting his six-eyed gaze without flinching. The Council started this war with lies. They gave us no choice but to defend ourselves. Tell me, Ambassador, what would your people do if faced with extinction? Would you follow rules made by those trying to destroy you? The Draxian was silent for a long moment. We will announce our position in 3 days. That is all? He left without another word. Elena sat alone, hoping she had said enough. Humanity needed allies. The war was not sustainable at this pace. Across the galaxy, Admiral Chen orchestrated Phase 2 of Protocol Omega from his mobile command base. Earth's fixed defenses were gone, destroyed in the Battle of Titan. The human fleet had been reduced to 90 operational warships. But Chen had learned the most important lesson of this war. Humanity could not fight the Council in open battle and win. So they would not fight that way anymore. All fleet commanders, execute raiding protocol, Chen ordered. No more defensive positions. We become ghosts. We strike where they are weak and disappear before they can respond. The human fleet split into small groups of 3 to 5 ships. They began hitting Council supply lines, shipyards, mining operations. The destroyer Retribution under Captain Yuki Tanaka penetrated deep into Council space on a mission that everyone knew was one way. Captain Tanaka stood on her bridge, looking at the faces of her crew. They had all volunteered for this. They knew they would not be coming home. We are approaching the Tholian homeworld, her navigator reported. Orbital defenses are reading us as a cargo vessel. The Tholians had grown complacent. Their homeworld had not been threatened in 3,000 years. Their orbital industry hung in space like ripe fruit, undefended except by automated systems. All weapons to full power, Tanaka ordered. Target the shipyards. Fire everything we have. The Retribution dropped its disguise and unleashed hell. Railguns tore through construction facilities. Missiles struck fuel depots. Nuclear warheads vaporized docking stations. In 30 seconds, the Retribution destroyed 200 years of Tholian orbital development. Then the defense fleet arrived. 50 warships converging on one destroyer. Tanaka's ship lasted another 2 minutes before it was blown apart. But the message had been sent. Nowhere was safe. Not even the homeworlds. The psychological impact was devastating. If humans could strike the Tholian capital, they could strike anywhere. Council citizens who had thought themselves safely distant from the war suddenly realized the enemy could reach them. Protests erupted on multiple worlds. Why were they fighting this war? Why were their children dying for the Council's pride? On New Horizon, Dr. Sarah Kim had gone from scientist to military commander. The planet had been a war zone for 6 months. The Tholian occupation had failed. Now they just bombed from orbit, trying to destroy the resistance through attrition. Sarah stood in the ruins of what had once been her university, now a resistance headquarters. Her clothes were dirty and torn. She had lost weight and her hair had gone gray at the temples. But her eyes still held fire. Status report, she said to her officers. Food supplies are critical. Medical supplies are almost gone. We have 800 wounded who need treatment we cannot provide. And the enemy? The Tholians are preparing a final assault. They are bringing in ground forces from 3 other systems. They want to end this. Sarah nodded slowly. They had held for 6 months. They had made the Council pay dearly for every street, every building. But the end was coming. Send a message to Admiral Chen. Tell him New Horizon fought well. Tell him we held as long as we could. Before the message could be sent, Sarah's communicator buzzed. It was an X-Viri frequency. Resistance Commander, this is the X-Viri Relief Fleet. We are entering orbit with humanitarian supplies and military support. Hold your position. Help is coming. Sarah felt tears sting her eyes for the first time in months. They were not alone. The Battle of Titan came 16 days later. Admiral Chen had known it was coming. The Council could not allow Earth to remain free. They assembled their largest fleet, 800 warships. Earth had 90 ships remaining and whatever defenders could be scraped together. The battle was brutal beyond description. Chen ordered tactics that would have been considered war crimes before this conflict started. Kamikaze attacks, nuclear mines disguised as escape pods, biological weapons targeting Council life support systems. The human fleet fought with desperate fury. Every ship that was disabled continued fighting until it exploded. Crew members who evacuated damaged vessels returned in small craft to continue attacking. When ammunition ran out, they rammed enemy ships. For 16 days, the space around Saturn was hell. Metal and flesh burned in the cold vacuum. Both sides took casualties that would have ended any previous war in history. When the dust settled, Earth's fleet was gone. Every warship had been destroyed or was damaged beyond repair. But the Council fleet had lost 580 ships. The survivors were scattered, damaged, and demoralized. They withdrew to regroup. Earth had survived. Barely. Admiral Chen sat in the ruins of his command center, now relocated to a bunker on Mars. The planet Earth below was scarred, its atmosphere still burning from orbital bombardment. 2 billion people had died in the battle, but humanity's homeworld still flew its own flag. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Council," his communications officer said, her voice hollow with exhaustion. "They are requesting negotiations." Chen looked at the tactical display. The Council still had more ships, more resources, more territory. But they had lost the will to continue. Their people were in revolt. Their economy was collapsing. They could no longer sustain this war. "Tell them we will negotiate," Chen said, "but not on their terms. Tell them we will only discuss terms of complete reorganization of galactic governance. The Council as it exists must end. Sir, they will never agree to that." "Then the war continues," Chen replied. "We have nothing left to lose. They have everything to lose. They will agree or they will watch their civilization burn." The message was sent. And for the first time since this war began, the Council blinked first. They agreed to talks, not surrender but genuine negotiations, recognition that they could not destroy humanity without destroying themselves. On the neutral station sanctuary, Elena received the news. The Draxians had announced their position. They condemned the Council's actions and recognized human sovereignty. 3 other species quickly followed suit. The galaxy was turning against the Council. Elena prepared for the most important negotiation of her life. She thought about Captain Torres, who died at Kepler Station. About Captain Tanaka, who sacrificed herself above the Tholian homeworld. About the millions of humans who would never see this day. She would make sure their deaths meant something. She would build a new galaxy where no species could be destroyed by the powerful, simply for being different, where justice mattered more than strength. The war was not over yet. But the tide had turned. Humanity had proven they could not be broken. Now they would prove they could rebuild. Not just their own civilization, but the entire galactic order. The Council had tried to crush humanity. Instead, they had forged something stronger than they could imagine. 1 year after Protocol Omega was activated, Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in the same chamber where she had been betrayed. But everything had changed. The Grand Hall on Nexus Prime now belonged to the reformed Galactic Assembly, and she stood not as a petitioner but as its first Secretary General. The chamber was filled with representatives from 47 species. The old Council's 12 members were scattered among the crowd, stripped of their special status. The Tholians sat in the back, their crystalline bodies somehow seeming smaller than before. 5 species that had supported the war had withdrawn from galactic society entirely, unable to face the consequences of their actions. Elena looked out at the assembled delegates and felt the weight of history on her shoulders. This moment had cost so much. 380 million human lives, 12 colonies permanently lost, Earth's biosphere damaged and struggling to recover, trillions of credits in destruction across multiple species. The largest war the galaxy had seen in millennia. But from that horror, something new was being born. "The reformed Galactic Assembly convenes for the first time," Elena said, her voice steady. "We gather not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals. The old order where power determined justice is dead. We build something better." She paused, looking at the Tholian delegation. Elder Crystallix, who had orchestrated humanity's betrayal, was gone. The new Tholian representative was younger, her crystalline body still carrying scars from human weapons. "We do not forget what happened," Elena continued. "We remember every life lost, every world burned, every family destroyed, both human and alien. We remember because we must ensure it never happens again. She activated the central display, showing the new Assembly's charter. No species can be declared a threat without transparent evidence reviewed by an independent tribunal. No species can be subjected to military action without a 2/3 vote and exhaustive diplomatic attempts. No species can be denied representation based on age, size, or technological level. The vote on the charter was not unanimous, but it passed with strong support. The Korath representative, who had voted for humanity's destruction a year ago, now voted yes. He approached Elena after the session. "Secretary General, my people owe yours an apology we can never adequately express. We believed the false evidence. We failed to question. We failed to stand for justice." Elena met his eyes. "Your people also provided food and medicine to human refugees when you declared neutrality. Your hospitals treated our wounded. You helped us when you could have remained silent. That is not forgotten either." The Korath bowed, a gesture of deep respect in his culture. Humanity's greatest victory was not on the battlefield. It was showing us what honor truly means. Across the galaxy, the work of rebuilding had begun. On Earth, Admiral Marcus Chen walked through a memorial garden outside Geneva. 10 million names were carved into black stone walls, arranged in the pattern of the human constellation. These were the dead from Earth alone. Other memorials existed on every human world. Chen was 80 years old now, his hair white, his hands trembling with age accelerated by stress. He came here every week to read names, to remember faces, to carry the burden of the order he had given. Today, a young woman approached him. She wore the uniform of the Terran Defense Force, newly reformed with Xviri technology assistance. "Admiral Chen, I am Lieutenant Sarah Chen. I am named after you and Dr. Sarah Kim. My parents wanted me to carry the names of heroes." Chen smiled sadly. "I am no hero, Lieutenant. I am the man who sent millions to their deaths." "You are the man who saved our species," she replied firmly. "My grandmother was on New Horizon during the occupation. She fought in Dr. Kim's resistance. She survived because you gave the order to fight. If you had surrendered, we would all be slaves now. Or dead." "The cost was so high," Chen said quietly. "Freedom always costs," the lieutenant replied. "That is why it is worth having." Chen looked at her young face so full of certainty. He hoped she would never have to make the choices he made. He hoped the new galaxy they were building would be kinder than the old one. On New Horizon, Dr. Sarah Kim stood in the skeleton of a new university building. The old one had been destroyed in the fighting. This one was being built with Xviri architectural techniques, stronger and more beautiful than before. She was 52 years old now, but felt ancient. 6 months of warfare followed by a year of reconstruction had taken everything from her. Her husband had died in the resistance. Her daughter had survived but carried scars that might never heal. Yet Sarah kept working. The colony had to be rebuilt. A generation of children needed education. Life had to continue. A Tholian approached her carefully. This one was a scientist, part of the reparations team sent to help rebuild what their military had destroyed. "Dr. Kim, I wanted to apologize personally. My government's actions were unconscionable. I did not fight in the war, but I benefited from the system that made it possible. That makes me complicit." Sarah studied the alien. She had killed Tholians during the resistance. She had hated them with every fiber of her being. That hate had kept her alive when nothing else could, but hate could not build a future. "Help us rebuild," she said finally. "Help us make sure this never happens again. That is the only apology that matters now." The Tholian scientist bowed and returned to work. Sarah watched the construction continue. Humans and Xviri and Tholians and Banali working side by side, building something new from the ashes. In the Xviri home system, Kelthera stood before the monument to conscience. It honored the Xviri who had helped humanity during the war, many of whom had been executed by the old council for treason. Her name would be added to that monument when she died. She did not regret her choice. Watching the council betray an innocent species had shattered her faith in the system she had served. Better to be remembered as a traitor to tyranny than loyal to injustice. A human delegation arrived to thank these Viri people. Kelthera met with them, discussing the new alliance between their species. From betrayal had come friendship. From war had come understanding. "We are building a joint research station," the human ambassador told her. "Human and Xviri scientists working together on medical technology. We want to save lives, not take them. Kelthera felt her heart lift. Yes, this was what the galaxy should be. Secretary General Vasquez returned to her office after the assembly session, exhausted. Her assistant brought her the daily intelligence briefing. The council loyalists were mostly quiet, accepting the new order. But there were holdouts, species that rejected the reforms. More concerning was the other report. A transmission from the edge of explored space. A human exploration vessel had encountered a new species, one unknown to the old council database. Elena read the report carefully. First contact was always dangerous. The last time humanity had trusted in galactic friendship, they had been betrayed. But the expedition commander had followed new protocols. Cautious approach. Peaceful intentions clearly communicated. Defense systems ready but not deployed. And most importantly, they had sent the data to the assembly first before proceeding. Elena sent her response. Proceed with contact. But remember what we learned. Hope for friendship. Prepare for treachery. And always maintain our ability to defend ourselves. She looked out at the stars visible through her office window. The galaxy was so vast, so full of unknowns. Humanity had learned hard lessons about trust and survival. They would not forget those lessons. That evening, Elena recorded a message to be added to Earth's historical archives. Future generations needed to understand what had happened here. We did not want this war, she said to the camera. We came to the stars seeking friendship and knowledge. We offered peace and cooperation. When the council betrayed us, we had every reason to give up. The odds were impossible. The enemy was stronger in every way. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But we are human. We do not surrender our freedom no matter the cost. We fought with courage and cunning. We made them pay for every inch of space, every moment of time. We showed the galaxy that humanity cannot be conquered, because we would rather die free than live in chains. The price was terrible. 380 million of our people died. Many of them were civilians who only wanted to live in peace. We will grieve them forever. We will honor their sacrifice by building a galaxy where no species faces what we faced. To future generations, I say this. Remember what we learned. Trust but verify. Seek peace but maintain strength. Be kind to those who deserve kindness. Be merciless to those who threaten our existence. And never ever forget that freedom is bought with blood. She ended the recording and sat in silence. Through her window, she could see construction ships working on the new defense platforms. Humanity would never again be caught unprepared. But they would also not become what they had fought against. The new human fleet was powerful, but it protected rather than conquered. The new colonies were armed, but they welcomed refugees from other species. Humanity had learned to walk the knife's edge between vigilance and paranoia. Admiral Chen's memoirs, published that year, contained a final passage that became famous throughout the galaxy. They thought we were weak because we sought peace. They learned that we sought peace because we knew the cost of war. And when they forced our hand,